Hey, shout out, folks. It's Bob the Old Rucker coming at you from Shout Out from the Pit. I'm just doing an introduction to this episode because it's a little bit different from previous episodes that I've done other than the Quad Squad. And again, like Mark, Melissa really did a great job of setting me at ease. Man, I'm one of those guys that can ask anything, but I'm really not one of those guys that knows how to respond to everything that I get. And Melissa, like Mark, really was patient with me and showed me some fantastic grace. And as she says, she's not disabled, she's differently abled. She's got some fantastic experiences. When I say fantastic, she's got some cool things that she's going to share, but she's also been through some amazing hardships, and just the things that she's done to overcome them are really refreshing. So I hope you enjoy this episode, and without further ado, here we go. Shout out, folks. It's Bob the Old Rucker coming at you live, uncensored, raw from Shout Out from the Pit. Hey, I'm pretty excited about this show today. And before I get started, I just want to remind you that the purpose of this show, Shout Out from the Pit, is to, bring stories and topics designed to add to your toolbox as you trudge the road to happy destiny. It doesn't matter what your affliction is, if it's illicits, if it's physical challenges, if there's some mental issues that you deal with, it doesn't matter. This show is designed to provide tools. And we always ask that you look for similarities. So as you're, listening to our guests, our interviewees, keep in mind that whatever their particular challenges may be different than yours, but their success in overcoming that challenge may very well be a tool that you could use. So again, I'm going to stumble a little bit because this is a very different show for me, and my new guest and hero, as far as I'm concerned, her name is Melissa P., and I'm going to let her give y'all a shout out and introduce herself. Melissa, do it.
I'm Melissa P. from Little Rock, and I am an alcoholic and an addict.
Right on. Melissa, I am so grateful for you. Not just because you're taking time out to, come do a show with us. But when I met you, I'm going to get into that a little bit because our audience obviously absolutely has no idea what you and I experienced and what you're dealing with and have dealt with. So I'm going to build a little scenario there. But the first question I want to ask you is, have you ever done a show like this before?
No, I have not.
Wow. Oh, well, I am honored that you're breaking the ice with us. And I just want you to know, as other people listen to the show and perhaps even reach out to you, maybe just always give a shout out from the pit, a holla. You are amazing. And a lot of people just have not discovered the hero in Melissa. And I'm really grateful for that day when we crossed paths. And I'm going to describe that a little bit right now. And I hope you don't mind. That's one of the reasons I really wanted you on the show. So we were at a convention. There's many people. There are hundreds of people at this convention. And it was at a very nice hotel. And of course, we try to stay anonymous and not give away the locations, last names of people, whatever. And sometimes we slip, so forgive us. And that's the only time I really have to take the time to edit stuff out because we just have to try to maintain anonymity at the best that we can. So anyway, the point is that we were on an elevator and, the elevator stopped. There was a bunch of us waiting to get on. You were kind of like next in line. And the catch to this is that you are in a wheelchair at that time, right?
Yes.
Okay. And so, everybody notices that somebody's in a wheelchair. Okay. So, here's this young lady sitting in a wheelchair. Cool. Well, you went to get on the elevator and an individual jumped you, got in front of you, and made it clear that you weren't going to get on the elevator. And it was already kind of full. And we could see by the expressions, because there was a bunch of us waiting, of the people in the elevator like, yo, what just happened? I mean, this is a little awkward. And of course, the elevator door closed. And I'm with a bunch of guys that I call the tribe. And, people listening to the show have heard this quite a bit. They've got to meet some of the tribe members. What people don't realize is some of these tribe members are former service member warriors. steely-eyed killers. I know that doesn't go over well with some people, but they have done their time, and they are gentlemen. They're full of integrity. And when they saw this, I saw their expressions, and it was like, okay, no, this is not cool. And one of them said, "You're getting on that next elevator." But here's the thing. Your expression, you're just smiling, and you're like, yeah, it's okay. These guys didn't think it was okay. And I'm a people watcher. The show audience has heard this before. I'm always watching people. I'm always learning from people. I'm always analyzing. I'm not a judger, but I'm a hobby writer. I've done some dabbling in that. And so I always, kind of look for opportunities to write. But anyway, I'm observing this thing. And when that next elevator come, you must have had 5 bodyguards, and they made sure you got on that elevator, and then they made sure you got to your location. And I thought that was the coolest thing I've experienced in a long time. We just kind of said our passerby like, hey,
was.
Oh, do you remember that?
Yes. Yes.
So let me ask you, what was going through your mind when it happened?
Well, at first I started to get mad, but
really?
then I remembered my program, because I try to think about other people today. I try to think about other people today. And maybe that person that jumped in front of me was in a hurry to get somewhere.
Oh, wow. What a perspective. Okay. That's kind of you. I actually need to work on that myself, because I was ready to wrap hands around throats. That's not a good place to be. I'm supposed to be the host of a congenial show. So, hey, but I'm not perfect. I'm just, working towards it. So that was sometime. Oh, say again, Melissa. I'm sorry.
I said, I'm not perfect either.
Okay. Well, now that was some time ago. And now at another convention, you and I passed each other, and I was with actually one of the same guys. And, you guys kind of struck up a conversation, and I'm going to dime you out. You were having a hard time, finding your phone? Is that what it was?
Yes.
And so this guy stopped. I'm going to go ahead and say, Tony, shout out. You're my hero. And so Tony was the guy who said, hey, can I help you out here? And you're like, I can't find my phone. He's like, well, let me help. Let me call you. And you found your phone. It was available. Yeah. It was accessible. But, we all got a chuckle out of it. So Tony and I went on our way. But something, I don't know, stirred me. And I thought, I need to talk to this lady. So I looked for you later on, and then we had a sit down chat. And in that chat, I was, and thank you for showing me grace, because I know, the world's got a lot of curious people out there, and they see people out there with disabilities, and right away, they got thoughts going through their minds. I don't know what those thoughts are, but I know what mine are. And they're generally curious, so we had to sit down, and I said, hey, can you share with me some things? And we started an interview on that spot. And Melissa, I'm going to tell you, it is so hard not to really like you. You are such a beautiful person. You have such a great spirit. And I asked you, at that point, then I broke my anonymity with the show, which I generally don't do if I can avoid it. But of course, my guests are always going to know who I am. So I shared with you that we have a podcast, and yes, I'm a host on that show. And would you be willing to come on? And, you didn't even hesitate. You were like, yeah. And so just so you know, I do get a lot of no's. People are like, no, I'm not going to go public. So here we are now, and we're doing a show. And I'm excited because you are a hero, and I think our audience is going to see that as well. So before we, get into like the past, what we call then, can you describe to us what your life is like today?
All right. Today, as of yesterday, I have 28 years sobriety.
Wow.
And while it's not perfect, it is so much better than my best day when I was drinking and using.
So what kind of things do you do today?
I am in a wheelchair, but I don't let that slow me down. I also use crutches when I have the opportunity, because sometimes I cannot take my wheelchair where I need to go, like getting in someone else's car to go to a meeting or to the store or whatever. I'm basically a housewife. I have a roommate, and I have a cat, and they keep me going. And I talk to a lot of people on the phone, and I'm trying to get to where I'm going back to work. I am trained in medical coding technology.
Oh wow. Okay.
And so I'm going to get with Arkansas Rehab and try to get back to work.
Wow. Well, pause for effect. Anybody out there that needs somebody with this particular skill, reach us on the message board at shoutoutfromthepit.com. Just say, hey, you heard of Melissa P's show. You know, I have an opportunity for, and then I'll vet that call, of course, and then I'll pass it forward. So we'll keep that in our prayers. Okay. So anyway, I'm sorry for interrupting.
I would appreciate that.
Thank you. Okay.
I would appreciate that very much.
Okay. So continue. I didn't mean to interrupt. I just wanted to take that opportunity.
I was raised in a family of six children, and I'm the first in my family to graduate college.
Okay. That's awesome.
And I was told early on, the doctor said if I lived, I would be disabled. I would not be able to walk, climb hills or stairs. I would not be able to do a lot of things for myself, and I would be institutionalized. And my parents said, no way. My father was a doctor here in Arkansas for 56 years.
Okay.
And he just recently passed.
Sorry to hear that, Melissa.
But he gave me a lot of opportunities that I would not have had I not been born into the family I was. And for that, I am very grateful. But he also was an alcoholic.
Oh.
And a lot of people knew he was alcoholic. But the alcohol contributed to his death.
I see.
And but I was very fortunate in what I had, and what I have now is a direct result of that.
I see. So I know the question hanging over the listening audience's mind right now is, what affliction were you born with?
All right. I was born almost exactly 3 months premature.
Okay.
And as a result, I had cerebral palsy.
Okay.
I walked with crutches up until about the year 2014. And at that time, I was married to my second husband, and I went down to the store, and someone backed over me in a truck. And so my femurs were broken, and I could not walk. I can't walk like I used to.
Okay. Well, that's one of the reasons we're doing this via phone, because our studio is not in an accessible area. I mean, you know, the studio is in the basement of my domicile. So someday we're going to have to get the tribe to carry you down to this so you can hang out with us and just do a table jam.
I can actually walk downstairs.
Okay.
With my crutches, with a little assistance. I didn't learn to walk stairs until I was 6 years old.
Wow. Okay, well, welcome back, Melissa P. So we were talking about throwing you over my shoulder and bringing you down to the studio so you could hang with us sometime. And you were like, no, I think I can do crutches down your stairs.
Well, my oldest brother was almost 10 years older than I was. And he took a lot of time with me. He carried me down the stairs, up and down the stairs, until I was about 6 years old. And he used to carry me on his shoulder. And if you're familiar with the song, He Ain't Heavy, He's My Brother.
Oh, yeah.
He changed that song for me.
That's cute. Wow. So you were sharing that. So you were on your crutches heading to a store, and a truck backed over you and broke both your femurs. And that puts you in a position. Now, not only do you have, we're going to refer to cerebral palsy as CP, just because it's a lot of syllables and I'll trip over my tongue. Yes. So you've got CP, 2 broken femurs. And I mean, what was the recovery like during that time, and what kind of support did you get?
I had basically a month in the hospital, and then a month in rehab after that for physical rehab. physical therapy, occupational therapy, and such. The lady that hit me, and I use that term loosely, the lady that hit me, realized she had hit me, came to the back of her truck, pulled me out from under her vehicle, said, "Move, B, move." Okay? And I said, "I can't move. You just crushed my leg."
Oh, my gosh.
Her right tire at that point, before she pulled me out, was on top of my right knee.
Oh, no. I hate visuals. That one got me.
Okay? The only thing I remember was it was a white king cab truck, and the lady had a beehive type hairdo.
Are you telling me that she left you?
That's the only thing I can remember. She left.
Oh, my gosh.
She sped out of the parking lot and left. I don't know who she was. I don't know what was going through her mind, but all I can remember is her backing up and crunch, crunch, crunch. The manual wheelchair that I was in was on the other side of the parking lot. And She left me laying there.
Oh, man, that's a mic dropper. I don't even know how to follow up with this except to ask the obvious. You ended up in a hospital and rehab, like you had just mentioned before, for like a month. Yeah. I am curious, what was your life like during that time?
At first, I was very, very angry. I was trying to get hold of a lawyer, trying to get hold of someone, because all I could think of was, I don't know how I'm going to deal with this. Okay. And I was in the hospital. I had 6 hours of surgery, the 27th surgery on my legs of my lifetime.
Wow.
And I didn't know how I was going to deal with it. Well, I was trying to get hold of a lawyer. I couldn't get anywhere as far as figuring out. My main thing was I wanted them to be responsible for the bill.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, because my father was aging. I did not want him to feel like he was responsible for them, and I could not because I'm on limited income.
Right.
And so I got very mad. At that point, I was not recovering very well at all.
Recovering physically from the accident.
Physically or emotionally, spiritually.
Right.
And I had kind of dropped my program.
So were you sober at the time?
I was sober at the time.
Okay.
This was in 2014.
Oh, okay. Wow. I'm talking about 11 years ago. Okay. Gosh.
And I was sober at the time. But I started crying. And at that point, I felt I had a very strong spiritual program because I was going to be a nun at one time in my life.
Wow.
And
Sister Melissa.
Well, it would have been Sister Mary Catherine.
Okay.
After my grandmother, but I was planning to be a nun, and then I met my first husband, which is another story. But I met him in the program.
Okay. Hey, before we get into that, can I just ask you, when did you discover alcohol? You're already dealing with CP. At what age did you cross paths with alcohol? I know you had mentioned earlier Dad was an alcoholic, so was it accessible to you, or I'm going to hold off and just let you go?
Alcohol was very accessible in our home. My dad would always give us sips of beer off and on from the time I think I was about 5 the first time I had my first sip of beer. By the time I was 9, I felt like I didn't fit in anywhere. And so
when you say you didn't fit in anywhere, was it because of just the way you felt, or was it CP related?
It was CP related in a lot of ways, but it was also, I had a strong feeling that I was not like other people, and I did not feel comfortable. And so I would go to my father's refrigerator in our house, and I would get a beer. And somehow that beer, as long as it was cold, made me feel halfway okay.
Right.
Okay. So I started drinking at 5 and 6 years old.
Wow.
I started really drinking at 9 because I had transferred from a school where I felt comfortable with other people who were disabled like me to a Catholic school, and I felt like a fish out of water.
Mm.
And so I would go home in the afternoon, and I would go down and get a beer out of my dad's refrigerator. And at some point during that afternoon, I would drink it.
Mm.
And that's how it all started.
So I understand the mental medicinal. Many of our guests can identify with that. I'm just curious now from a CP perspective. Of course, your family loved on you, and you already mentioned your older brother doing the things that he did for you, which, by the way, is very awesome. What was it like, neighborhood kids going to school? What was that like?
I had very few friends. I had a few very close friends that would spend time with me, but I didn't feel like I could be in a group and feel comfortable.
Did they make you feel uncomfortable, or was it something that was innate to you?
No, it was inside me.
I see.
It was in me.
I see. There was another thing you'd mentioned in our chat before, when we met, that you didn't just deal with CP, you didn't just deal with alcohol. There was another thing you had to deal with. You want to share that?
I'm not sure to which you're referring.
You love to eat?
Oh yes. I also had another compulsion, and that was compulsive overeating.
Okay, and I'm gonna talk to you a little bit about that, and then I'm gonna tell you why we have this in common. You had shared. Now, remember when we met, you're a slender woman. Obviously, you're in a chair, but you're a slender woman. You're kept. You're clean. You were self-sufficient. Mm-hmm. But you told me that you weighed a certain poundage at one time. What was that?
I weighed 284 pounds in 2008.
I can't even imagine that. None of my the tribe, I haven't told them anything. Yeah, I told them, if you want to hear what I learned with Melissa, you're going to have to listen to the show. So they're going to be hearing this for the first time. And I think they're all going to be thinking the same thing, like there is no way. So I don't talk to us about that.
Now, in 2008, I had gotten to a point where my compulsive eating, and I ate to stuff my feelings.
Okay.
I ate to stuff my feelings. And what I had done was actually switch addictions, basically, because I knew I couldn't drink. I knew I didn't want to drink because of my past. But in 2008, I had gotten up to 284 pounds. Mm. I was in a manual wheelchair simply because I couldn't get around with my crutches anymore.
Wow.
All right. And I got to a point that I was going to have a gastric bypass.
Okay.
And because of problems related to my addiction to alcohol and drugs, I have liver problems.
Okay.
And one doctor told me it would help my liver. The other doctor said, no, it'll kill the liver if I do this. So I had to come up with another solution. So in February of 2008, I started Overeaters Anonymous, which is another 12-step program. But having had experience with AA, I knew that the 12 steps could help me. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But I needed a different slant to it. So I went to Overeaters Anonymous. I met a young man who at that time had lost half his body weight. Wow. I met him through a nutritionist I saw at UAMS. And then then we started going to meetings together, OA meetings, and he's gone now, but he had tremendous success with Overeaters Anonymous, and so I kind of hooked up with him, and we were good friends, and he helped me to establish my overeating plan as far as recovery.
That's great. I mean, it's funny how God sends people into our lives to help us with certain challenges. And
yes, he does.
That's a great example. I imagine that you've been placed in people's lives as well. I mean, come on, you're an overcomer. You're incredibly determined. So, because of the tools that you've gotten from Overeaters Anonymous, Alcoholics Anonymous, your own overcoming and survival, your accident, and then all that stuff combined together, how has that helped you to help others?
Well, when I went to college, I got a degree in psychology and sociology, which is with emphasis towards social work.
Okay.
Now, because of my history with my first husband, I did not pursue my social work, but I went back in 1994 and got a degree in medical coding technology. And I have always met people and been able to talk to people. And that somehow I have always been able to say the right thing because God is within me, and I do call my higher power God.
Okay.
God is within me. He helps me to know what to say and when to say it.
I'm reflecting, the handful of times that I've crossed paths with you. Generally, they're at conventions, obviously, and I don't recall seeing you by yourself except that one time where Tony helped you with your phone. But it seems like you're always in a group or gathered or talking to somebody. You seem like somebody that's got a lot of acquaintances and friends. Do you run with a particular group or what have you?
My AA group is a very good, solid group, and I have a lot of friends there. I don't have a lot of. I have a lot of acquaintances, but they become friends.
Right.
I've never met a stranger.
No, you haven't. I mean, you have that glowing smile, so it kind of, it just kind of attracts people.
Strangers are only friends I haven't met yet.
And I applaud that. I've heard people say to me, when I'm working with them, you don't get me, you don't understand. Okay, nobody can see what's going on in my brain. So I can see why people would say that, especially when they're new to recovery. But I can't imagine somebody ever looking at you and saying, you don't understand. Have you ever had anything like that happen?
Yes, I do.
Oh my God.
I have. As a result, I have not sponsored many people in the program, but because the few people I have sponsored eventually said, you don't understand me. You don't understand where I'm coming from.
Oh,
and so
interesting.
I haven't sponsored many people in the program, but I hope that in the times we have met that I've been able to help in some way.
Absolutely. I mean, we I was a school teacher for a while, and I had some disabled students in there, and I really didn't mingle a lot with disabled folks throughout my life because I spent most of my life in the military, so that speaks for itself. But then, before the military, growing up, we used to go to the county building, and there's a cafeteria there that was ran by a guy that had CP. Now, mind you, I was a young teenager. I had no idea what CP was, but I did something stupid because I'm a teenager, and I thought, he's got a physical disability. I actually, because I don't know nothing, I treated him like he had a mental disability, and he wouldn't realize that I was passing off a dollar that I made. I'm a teenager. They didn't even have the photocopy machines that they have now. And he laughed. And he said, and of course he had severe CP, so it affected his ability to speak clearly.
Mm-hmm.
So he passed it off and told me, hey, look, keep your money and you can have, the food. I barely understood him. But when I left there, I was, the word we use in certain circles, I guess, is convicted, because if he were mentally retarded, he wouldn't have been cognizant enough to know that I was trying to get over on him. And it really bothered me. So other kids would shoplift in there. Say again?
That was your conscience.
It was my conscience. Well, other kids that I knew these kids. I knew because I did it too. We would go in and steal candy. And after that, I wouldn't let it happen. I was just like, I just can't let this happen. Well, he and I became friends, and we did our first bicycle marathon together. He had this trike, and his name was Don. Just a great guy. I learned to understand him. It took a while. I learned to understand him, and because of our relationship, other people started like patting me on the head. Like, oh, you're such a good boy, and that bothered me. And so I learned from Don and other folks with physical disabilities. Actually, we did a show with this guy named Mark. It's called the Quad Squad. You listen to one of the episodes. And one thing that I've learned is I don't go out of my way to try to be a good boy. Like, oh, there's a disabled person. What can I do to help? How do you deal with stuff like that?
First of all, I am not disabled. I am differently able.
Oh, that's a good line. I'm going to write that down. Differently abled.
Okay.
I like that.
I have limitations to my ability, but I am differently able.
So how do you communicate with people that are trying to do you a solid because they feel sorry for you, if I can just be frank? How do you deal with stuff like that?
I have never been allowed to feel sorry for myself until recently, and that's my own fault. But I was never allowed to say I can't until the only time I was allowed to say I can't is if I was not willing to do something, or if I had tried multiple ways and I was not able to figure out a way to accomplish it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so when someone tries to help me, I say, if I can do it myself, I say I would prefer to do it myself. Or people ask me, do I need help? I say, no. But when I do need help, I am not beyond asking for it.
That's awesome. Okay.
And that's something I had to learn. Because I didn't want to ask for help because I didn't want to seem weak.
So you're differently abled, but we have that in common. I'm not differently abled physically, but mentally I am, because I don't want to ask for help. I'm going to do this myself, and it doesn't always turn out well for me.
My roommate calls me the little red hen because she says I'm always saying I'm going to do it myself.
I frankly admire that in you. And if you were to say, I got this, I'm going to stand down. But if you were to look at me and go, hey, I need your help, I'm not going to give you help because, oh, you're differently able. Let me just do the right. I'm going to do it because you're a human being. And I'm going to tell you this. I acquired that from other people that were differently able. I'll probably never say physically disabled again. I'll probably just go with, I like that. I treat people with dignity because I learned in the same program that you're in that everybody's got a challenge. Some of them we can see, some of them we can't.
Yeah.
But the big thing is we always treat people with dignity and respect. And so for me, I've got to learn when I need help, and when I do, I need to ask for it and receive it. And then I've got to remember other times, don't take advantage of people because they're trying to help me. That's wrong in itself too. I've got to be able to do whatever it is, that I need to do. And I see that in you.
See, I was taught early on, because like I say, I had 4 brothers and a sister. So I was taught early on that I could do anything I set my mind to as long as I was willing.
That's right.
Okay. So willingness plays a big factor. If you're not willing to do something, then you can say, I can't.
Mm.
All right.
Yeah.
But that's the only time that you're allowed to say, I can't.
That's really important. Mm. Okay. So, is there anything in particular, I could ask you 1,000 questions and we could do a 5-hour interview, but I learned some things from you. I learned some things from you before. I definitely wanted to have you on the show to just share the things that you have. And our largest endeavor is, it's been said a million times, is to give hope to the hurting, provide tools, and you've done that. You've said some great things that I actually made some notes here for my my personal use. But I'm asking you now, Melissa, you're let's say in our listening audience, we have people that are dealing with alcohol, overeating, cerebral palsy, or any challenge. You've overcome so much, but what is your largest, I'll just ask you straight up, what is your largest tool to survival?
Okay. My largest tool is that, and I don't always do this, but I try to take every day, each day, to its own. And my largest tool is prayer.
Mm.
Now, as I said, I have a very strong religious and spiritual background,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't always use it.
Well, I can say we're in the same club on that one.
I had the opportunity in 1982 when I was looking at going into the religious life as a nun. I had the opportunity to meet Mother Teresa of Calcutta.
Are you serious?
Yes. And
Okay.
Mother Teresa.
You got to tell us about that.
Mother Teresa, I was with some nuns because I was going on a come and see weekend with them the next day. And I was invited to a conference here in Little Rock in 1982. She came to speak to a Catholic conference and to establish the Alba House, which is over on 10th and Oak. It's a home for unwed mothers and their children. Okay. And the sisters take care of unwed mothers and their children and help them. And so I had the blessing in my life to meet Mother Teresa.
Wow.
Now,
wow. Another mic drop. Mm.
One of the sisters that I was with was making a rosary as we were listening to Mother speak. A rosary is a prayer device. Mm. And Mother came over after she had spoken and was introducing herself to the sisters, or being introduced to them. And she came over to me and asked me why I wasn't helping Sister to make the rosary. And I told her that I had a disability. At that time, I still use the word disability. I told her, I said, I have a disability and my hands cannot handle the chains because most rosaries are made with small metal chains.
Okay.
And so I said, so I cannot make them. And she said, yes, you can. She takes a small tool out of her bag, out of her purse that she carries with her, and she shows me how to hold it, and then takes some woolen cording that has been made, and shows me how to make knots. So I make what are called corded rosaries, which is where you put a knot between the beads.
Okay, I can see that.
Instead of the chain. And she gave me the tool that I use.
Wow. Wow.
Now, right now, I cannot find it.
For some reason,
no. When I moved, everything got mixed up.
Oh.
So I'm searching to find it. But in the meantime, my husband, who came into my life in 97 when I got sober, was able to find out what it was, and he made me several tools
Oh,
of the same type. So, but I cherish the one Mother gave me.
yeah, I would too.
But she taught me how to make rosaries, and as a result, I make rosaries.
Oh,
And I give them to people in recovery, and I sell a few at the Catholic churches around town, so that I can continue to make money to put into the supplies.
wow,
And
that's beautiful.
I have actually gone to Abba House and taught. I have actually gone to Abba House and taught the girls there how to make their own rosaries.
Oh, that's so cool.
I
That
used
is
to
cool.
do that every summer.
You know, Melissa, I have 2 rosaries. The first one was given to me by a stranger as we're preparing to deploy, my first deployment. And I thought that was really strange, and I kept it. And I'm looking at it right now. It's hanging up on in my office here. The second rosary I got was years later. We were doing some work helping folks build wells in an impoverished, deep area of Mexico. And another lady, she was Tatamara, a native Mexican. And she gave me one. I'm looking at it as well. It's beautiful. And I couldn't understand, am I supposed to buy this? Is she trying to say she was? And she just gave it to me as a gift. And they're very beautiful. Of course, I'm not Catholic, but I understand, my stepmother's Catholic. I understand quite a bit about, but, it's still beautiful. I'm going to hang it up.
What I tell people is, if you look at this and it reminds you of the sacrifice that was made for you and the help that you've received through your life, and it reminds you to pray however you choose to pray, whatever relationship you have with your higher power, if it reminds you to pray and be grateful for what you have, then it's done its job.
Wow. Well said. Well said. So,
and
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I actually made a rosary and sent it to President Biden.
Oh, did you? Did you get any feedback on that?
Yes, I did. I got a letter from him.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I mean, now, of course, I'm curious. I'm sure listening audience is as well. What would the letter say?
He just thanked me very, very much for the rosary, and he carries it with him as he does the rosary that belonged to his son.
Oh, wow. What a great story.
He prays the rosary every day.
Wow. So you have a Mother Teresa story and a President Biden story. I don't rank up there with old Rucker stories, but you could add that to your repertoire.
I have not ever met President Biden, but I'd like to.
Sure.
But when I knew that he carried his son's rosary with him and he prays the rosary every day, I knew this was the person I needed to get a rosary to.
That's cool.
And because of Mother Teresa, I give people as many rosaries as I can, but I sell a few so I can continue to.
That's awesome.
Buy my supplies.
Let me. I'm going to use that in our closing, but before we move into closing, you've already shared your number one tool is prayer. What would you say to anybody out there? Whatever's on your heart, whatever the Spirit guides you to say, what do you say to people that are on their recovery journey and, they're struggling? What would you say to them?
No matter how long you have in recovery, it's always one day at a time.
Okay.
And if you mess up one day, you can start over. You don't have to have it in a long history of relapse. You can start over.
That's great. That really is good insight. So many people fall during their recovery, whatever they're dealing with.
I did that too many times until 1997. Okay. I originally came into the program in 1984.
Okay.
And my sobriety date is 1997. So I waffle back and forth.
Yesterday you hit 28 years. That's
Yes.
amazing. Very, very
And
proud of you.
I didn't think I would ever have 28 days.
Right? That is so awesome. So I'm going to ask you this, Melissa, and then of course I'll go somewhere with this. So, we have a message board for people they can call. We have an unmonitored phone number that takes voicemail. So if somebody calls, they can call. And I try to get on it at least every day, but I'm not really good at it because I get overcome by events. So we have a message board. We have an email team at Shout Out from the Pit. It's all on shoutoutfromthepit.com. And we have a message board. So, people can write, call, whatever. If somebody wants to, talk to you about your desires to go into medical coding, or they need maybe a friend that they can pen pal with, or they want to pick up one of your rosaries, would you have a problem with them hitting us up on our website and we just pass the information on to you?
No, I would very much appreciate that.
Cool. I appreciate that too, because, I can't identify with everybody, but we use this platform to do introductions to folks. So when they listen to a show and they think they can identify with our guest, then great. And we do the best we can to connect folks. And resources, as always, this is to you, Melissa, and also to the listening audience. If you have a resource out there that you think would be good for somebody's recovery journey, please leave it with us at shoutoutfromthepit.com. The brains behind the show, as everybody knows, is Redbeard, and I'm the mouth. And Redbeard does an amazing job with the website, technologies, posting resources. In fact, I'm going to say this. Hey, you guys need to give Redbeard a hard time on the message board. He needs to come on the show more. The guy's got so much insight, but, I'd like to say that he's shy, but he's not shy. He's incredibly busy. I just need him to carve out more time and come hang with me because, he's not just the producer of the show. He's a very good friend and just has a lot to offer. So you guys need to bug him on the website and say, hey, we want to hear more of you, Redbeard. So get out. Melissa, this has been a fantastic time. Thank you so much. I'm blessed. You've said some things to me that I made some notes on it. I'm going to look at people in the future as differently abled, and I'm going to tattoo that on my heart so I use it more often. I like a couple of things that you said. We need to have the willingness. We need to be willing to pray, and I can't end a show without saying, Melissa, you're the type of person that I need to have in my repertoire of friends, because people that are listening to this show, they need to know that they're not alone. And you and I at one time felt like we were alone. And now we're part of our own groups of people that edify us, strengthen us, and iron sharpens iron. So folks, if you're out there listening to this show, remember you're not alone. And if nobody's told you they love you today, well, I tell you what, Melissa and I love you. And there's a lot of people that love you, and we want success for everybody. So with that, thanks again for listening to Shout Out from the Pit. Check us out at shoutoutfromthepit.com and have an outstanding American Day. God bless and peace out.